Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Dirty and Driven podcast. Many of you know my name is James Deviney, and I am your host on today's episode. If you're listening on audio or watching on video, you might notice that I am shirtless in my kitchen, and that is because I got home from the studio and forgot to record an intro for this episode. So I'm doing it in my kitchen without a microphone or anything. So the whole episode is a lot nicer quality than this. This is the show where we bring people to the blue-collar world, teach them how to kick ass. And we have an ass-kicking guest on here today. Our mission is to gain, train, and retain solid, hard-working individuals. And some of the things that this guy talks about, this is what you do, man. This is what it takes to keep people in our industry. We have Ben Parmele on here, and he is a safety guy in California. And I know what you're thinking. Wow, how gay. And I thought that too until I got to know the guy. And he really is an awesome dude. He is a serious hitter in our industry. He's doing awesome things. And he's the kind of guy that you'd want to be a safety guy in your company. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. He was also in the Marines. This being happy 4th of July, everybody, whenever this drops. This is a show we're going to talk to him about his career in the military. He runs American Period on Instagram that you can follow. And he's just a really awesome dude. So good American, good person, good construction worker, everything, man. If you like us, if you like what you're hearing, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Those are the three major ones. Like our stuff. Give us a 5-star review on your favorite streaming platform. And if you are feeling generous, in the show notes below, you can drop a tip in the tip jar under just the tip. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as we did. And we're definitely going to have Ben on sometime in the near future. You guys are awesome. Thanks for all the support. Here's the show.
Sweet. Don't tread on me, mug. Ready to go. Ben, I'm going to just start this off. Just clear the air. Elephant in the room. You're a safety guy in California. So
yeah,
that's two red flag strikes right off the bat. No.
That's okay. I wave those flags proudly.
Yeah. There's a red flag behind you, but that's a Marine Corps flag. So I guess that's your third red flag. But that's a literal red flag. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, that's a good red flag. Much needed.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, tell me a little bit about that. So you're in the safety stuff in California. So do you report to Satan?
No, we're actually not as bad as you think when it comes to safety. I use my powers for good.
That's good. No, I know that. That's why I want to have you on, man. I think it's cool that because you and I have talked, here and there, and there's not a lot of safety guys out there that use their powers. There are a lot out there that use their powers for good, but there's a lot that also abuse that power and privilege to be able to say, quit working, or you're doing that wrong, or whatever. There's a lot of pricks that are safety people, to put it like that,
Yeah, there is definitely, I'll say, tension, maybe misunderstanding, but mainly tension and ego when it comes to, I'll probably say, between safety and middle management. And then the guys probably foreman and below are like the rope and tug of war.
Yeah. Okay. I see that. Yeah. I can see that exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We'll get into that a little bit, man. I want to know, so you're a Marine Corps veteran and all that. This is kind of our 4th of July episode, if you will. So I want to hear a little bit about your military service too, and then we'll get into some of the construction stuff. So I don't know a lot about detailed military stuff. Casey probably knows a lot more than I do. But man, just tell me a little bit about that Marine background of yours.
Yeah, man. So I joined in 1998. I'm not going to say straight out of high school. My recruiter tried to send me right out of high school. I'm like, look, dude, I'm going to take the summer and do me. And then I'll go to boot camp in the fall. And those words were scary to him. But I had a good summer. I partied and went to boot camp in October. And I was a firefighter in the Marine Corps, which is like a hidden gem. You hear a lot of people say that that's the job I wanted and I didn't get. But I got it. I was one of the lucky ones in the Marine Corps. I got everything I wanted. So when it came to
I got to ask you about that
firefighter
firefighter deal real quick. My buddy did that, and he pretty much went to Japan for like 3 years, and I think he just partied his ass off for all 3 of those years. Is that about right?
Yes. I was in Japan, my first duty station.
Oh, cool.
And I stayed there for 6 years. Okinawa is an awesome little place, and it's a good time. Especially like if you really want to have a good time, like celebrate the 4th of July in a country that you went to war with and beat. Like it's
That's funny, dude. Yeah. Yeah, we beat you. We beat you guys 50 years or 80 years ago now, wasn't it? No, my math's off. Is that right?
Yeah, about 80.
Yeah, about 80 years ago. Yeah, we whooped you guys' asses 80 years ago. We're going to sit here and just rub your nose in it.
But it was nice. Okinawa was fun. I didn't get to experience mainland Japan too much. I went up there once and got to party in Tokyo, and that's probably a good thing that I wasn't up there because Tokyo is wild. But Okinawa was fun. It has a lot. It's just a really small island. It's 11 miles long, 2 miles wide at the nearest point. But you got scuba diving, you got mountain biking, there's off-roading, there's whatever you want to do, it's there. And it was initially a 2-year tour, and then I did 1 year extensions. No, I did five 1-year extensions, and then I got married at the end of my 5th year, and I tried to switch my orders to 3-year orders, and they were like, bro, you've been here too long, you got to go. So I had to leave.
So were you in Okinawa, I don't know how you say it. Okinawa, whenever 9/11 happened?
Yes, I was.
How was the feeling there, the sentiment, I guess, with, obviously you're not in state, you're out of state. So what was the pulse?
Like you felt like you needed to do something, but you didn't know what to do. And I guess that's best summed up. This part's funny. The whole 9/11 thing wasn't, but like I was at work. So we're actually in the middle of a typhoon, which is a hurricane in the South Pacific. And it was pretty bad. So when those hit, all non-essential personnel go home. And then because we're firefighters, we're essential. Like we have to stay at work. So we were just locked down, getting a little cabin fever, getting kind of rowdy. And then we settled down a little bit and we started going to bed. And then someone ran in and it's like a plane hit the towers. And we're like, what? So I walked in and saw the second plane hit live on the news. And that's when things started to go crazy on the island. We immediately went into Delta, went into lockdown, and we got tasked with driving around the base in a typhoon and filling up those little plastic Jersey barriers, plastic police barricades, and fill them with water. I had guys this one guy in the barracks called me, and he was like, Sergeant, my bags are packed and ready to go. I'm like, cool. Like, where are you going? He's like, where? Like, wherever. Let's go. Like, we got to go. Like, slow down there, buddy. Like, it doesn't happen like that. Just got to figure out what's going on first. But it was it was a crazy time. All the all the bases went into lockdown, and the Marine Corps was the first one to release the restrictions. Like we were still pretty security tight, but I don't think there was an air of nothing's going to happen in Okinawa. I think there was an air of, for us, it felt like come try it, like because you had a couple thousand people just waiting to do something, and we weren't the Japan isn't the tip of the spear for the Middle East. Like we have our own area of, I guess protection. We're very strategic in location. We're kind of watching the South Pacific, Korea side. So when it comes to the Middle East, we're kind of waiting to go do something. So for the next couple of years, we got to watch everybody else go fight that battle.
So you were just kind of chilling during that whole thing, huh? That's crazy.
Yeah, it was definitely a weird time. There's always the security intel reports, that we're on the list and they're going to come hit us, and I don't see Okinawa is not really a target of opportunity. It's not like hey, it's right there, let's go get it. Like you have to try really hard to get out to Okinawa. So we didn't really feel the pressure. The pressure that we felt was 2001, now it's 2002, 2003. We're starting to roll deep in Iraq. Afghanistan's going to kick off in a little bit. We're seeing the rest of the Marine Corps go do stuff, and we're just kind of sitting on the island like, when's it going to be my turn? Like, I had people ask me, like, why do you want to go? I was like, imagine if this is a basketball team and you just get to sit on the bench and watch everybody else play. Like, that's kind of a weird way of putting it, but like you joined for a reason, and that reason happened, and then you don't get to go do anything. So everybody was kind of itchy. Everybody was kind of antsy to go.
Huh. So did you stay in Japan, or did you end up going to the Middle East at all? Or
I ended up staying in Japan for a couple more years, and then after Japan, I got stationed in Quantico, which is another interesting place.
where's Quantico?
I stayed there for 2 years in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
So it was the Presidential Helicopter Squadron.
Oh,
So they're kind of based out of Quantico. They have a couple other places, but they're kind of based out of Quantico. At least their maintainers and stuff are. So we're sitting there on the edge of the Potomac. 2 years there, I get orders to Cherry Point. They were kind of requested, and then that unit was slated. That unit left for Iraq a few months after I got there. So went to Iraq. We got sent as a super squadron. So the squadrons I get attached to, it's a support detachment, Marine Wing Support Squadron, and our whole job is to pretty much build and maintain airfields. We have everything, every kind of capability you think you would need to build and support and run an airfield. We have, from cooks to the water guys to the guys the heavy equipment operators, tower guys, like fuelers. We have everything you need, and that's kind of our job. So we had air support for all of Western Iraq. So we're sitting in 7 or 8 different places at Al Assad, and then a bunch of outlying places. I was the youngest, lowest ranking person to run a detachment. Everybody else they were gunnies and staff sergeants. And I was a sergeant. I was the only sergeant to have my own detachment, and it felt like a joke because they come out and they have all the site leaders come together and they hand them packets, like intel packets, like you're going here, here's your book, there's everything you need to know about that. And they get to me and they have nothing. They're like, we don't know where you're going. I was like, haha, let's prank the new guy, haha. And they're like, no, seriously, we have no clue. I was like, tight. All right. So I had this little place called Ubaidi. It was right on the Euphrates River between Iraq and Syria. I had no clue what I was getting into, where we were going. And the guys were like, so where are we going? I was like, it's called Ubaidi. Like, what the what the hell's that? No intel on the area or, how hot it is, like the enemy action, like nothing at all. So it was kind of a surprise when we got there. We got shot at landing. We didn't know it. We flew in an Osprey. We landed. As soon as we landed, we threw all the bags out the back, and Ospreys kind of took off. And we grabbed our shit and took it. And as we're pulling our bags off, one of the dudes threw their bag on top of like a rocket head that had been shot at us and kind of died. Like it was kind of bouncing the LZ that no one picked up. Didn't explode. Dude picked up his bag and there's a rocket head sitting there. We're like,
Oh, that'll unsettle the nerves a little bit.
Welcome.
Dude, how long have the Ospreys been around?
They've been around for a minute. I can remember as a kid seeing the news because I grew up in Maryland, and anytime those things were like they were in testing and they were flying, it was like a big deal in the news. So I can remember them testing them and them crashing all over the place. But they kind of, let's see, probably 04, 05, we started seeing them. It was a pretty badass ride. I flew on 53s. They're the huge helicopters. Transformers, the helicopter that flew into that base in the desert and then transformed, that was a smaller version of the 53. Those were the fastest helicopters in the Marine Corps. And then I don't know if you consider an Osprey a helicopter, but the Osprey smoke checks it. We flew from Al Asad to Ramadi and then to Ubaidi on the Osprey. It normally takes a 53 about 45 minutes to make that flight, and we did it in 15.
Jeez, dude.
I'm talking it's the craziest thing because it's got its rotors up and it kind of just floats up and you're just going up and it's nice. And this is a nice little ride. And it starts turning and then you hear the rotor start going forward. And then it's like we were thrown back in our seats, like they hit the throttle and we're like, oh, like we couldn't even sit up straight for a minute. It's fast. It was a
probably
fast
like 500-600 miles an hour, something like that.
Probably. I don't know the specs on how fast they fly. I can tell you what to do when they crash, but that's about it.
How fast the helicopter fly? It fast. Oh.
Did you get a chance to see the Hussein Son's palace?
No, I did not.
I met a few people that they were contractors or whatever after, they took out Uday and Qusay Hussein, the sons of Saddam. Mm-hmm. They went through the palace and they came back with a bunch of relics from the palace there.
Really?
Yeah, I've got some of them. They took like knives and they popped off the tiles off the walls and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And they said they went into one room and there were just boxes and boxes and boxes of Cohiba cigars because they love smoking those cigars.
Yeah.
And I got one of the cigars that they
Really?
nabbed. Oh, yeah. Pretty cool shit. Yeah.
Wow. That's wild. I'm sure it's just dry now. It's
dry. Yeah, it's dry. So,
no,
I don't have like a humidifier to store it or anything.
Yeah. Huh. That's wild, dude. So, man, Ben, how long were you in the Marines?
22 years.
Okay, so you got a lot of story there, man. So you went down there and, geez, man, I know. I'm trying to figure out the best way to ask this and go because I know we could talk about that all day long too. But what were some of the highlights for you?
Starting off in Okinawa was cool. I got to seeing it was a fun place to be, but the historical significance of Okinawa and the outlying areas is pretty neat. I met a guy, the Japanese guy, that he got his first job with the U.S. military at 7 years old, carrying dead bodies off of the battlefield.
Whoa. At 7?
At 7.
Like the single digit number 7?
The single digit number 7 with a little wheelbarrow, just helping carting people off. That guy, so there's off the coast of Okinawa, there's a tiny island called Iyashima. It's kind of shaped like a peanut, and that there was some fighting going on out there, and that's where he grew up. That's where he lived, and that's where he started working for the U.S. military. When I went out there to work, so I got sent out to Iyashima for a few months. He was retiring after like 45 years of service with the U.S. military as a civilian, and he was very interesting to talk to, and just his perspective on things was pretty neat.
Wow, dude,
Me and his son became good friends, and I don't know his name. He was just the fuck you guy, because when I first met him, he was giving me the middle finger, like, oh, fuck you, fuck you. So I gave it back, and that was our thing. Like every time we saw each other, it was like, fuck you, oh no, fuck you. And then one day he's like,
it's like the South Park with the Canadians.
Store.
Yeah.
Wow, dude! Imagine the perspective that guy would have.
He gave me his keys to his truck. So
imagine the perspective you have on life whenever you're carrying dead bodies off the battlefield, starting at 7 years old, man. Dude, that's nuts.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that I knew not to. It was a reverence with him and his the people he worked with, because they looked at him like, I'm not going to say like godlike, but they respected the hell out of him. Like it was, there's some things you don't need to understand the language to pick up. You know, like when you see the way people act around certain people, like you kind of follow that vibe. But he was definitely a good dude.
Wow, that's cool, man. That's cool whenever you've got that kind of aura around you that people just know that you're that, you know. Man.
That kind of carrying that, and then I picked up some rank, and I got sent to I spent more time off of Okinawa than I did on Okinawa. I was always sent to the Philippines, or I was sent to Australia, I was sent to other countries. We were interacting with these foreign militaries, and we actually got to train them. So kind of putting party mode aside, and then training with the Filipino firefighters who have never really seen like a breathing apparatus or like our gear. They're like, oh, this is crazy. They don't have the money for it.
Yeah.
So we got to train with them and show them. I mean, they're all sitting there drinking beer on lunch, you know, they got a different mindset about things.
That's nuts.
So that was neat. That was neat. That was a highlight.
Did you ever go to Palau?
No, I did not get to go out there.
Oh man, you were so close. I've been there. That's cool. That's a cool place. But yeah, I was just wondering, Philippines, that's somewhere I've always wanted to go to. They seem to live differently there. But I've heard it's a nice place.
Philippines is crazy. So they're like we're on the runway, and so whenever we deploy as firefighters, we always have enough for like 2 shifts. So we work like a 24-hour, and we just switch it off every 2 days, every other day. And one day the 53 guys were like, hey, we're going to do a fan flight. Like, you want to come with us? And we weren't allowed off of we stayed on Clark Air Base, which is an old Air Force base that we gave back to the Philippines, and they kind of made it an economic zone. They turned the base housing into resorts and stuff, and it's a cool little place. But we weren't allowed off because there was 3 different terrorist cells in the Philippines, and they were killing Americans in broad daylight. So the week before we got there, they had walked up behind an American guy on the street and just shot him in the back of the head.
Oh shit!
Don't know why, but so we weren't allowed off the reservation at all. So when we got a chance to go fly and go see the island, we're like, hell yeah, let's go. So we're just cruising over the jungle, and all of a sudden the crew chief starts like strapping up. He's like tightening up all his things, and she's sitting there, and he's just like staring at us, and he's like, you can't hear nothing, but he's looking at us, and he's like, hold on. So we all like, okay, so we just grab our seats. And all of a sudden the helicopter just nosedives, just dives. And we're like, what the fuck? And then it's going like top speed, like right over the treetops. And we're like, what
Whoa.
the heck? And we look out the back of the helicopter, and there's all these like grass huts just exploding, like just blowing everywhere, all over the place. And then you kind of come back up to cruising altitude and then, flying around. We get back to the air base, and we're like, he sets down, like, what was that all about? Like, oh, that was a terrorist cell. Like, how do you know? Like, oh, they have different colored flags on their huts. Like, it's kind of weird, but I guess they all put like different color flags on their huts in the jungle, so you know who's who.
Like a bullseye, huh?
Wow.
Yeah, so they just dropped down, and the the rotor wash from the helicopter decimated their little village.
Wow. At first, I thought he was just like screwing with the guy. I was like, no wonder they came up and shot a guy in the back of the head. He's doing that shit. But I guess if it's a terrorist cell, all right. All right, we'll accept it. That's cool, man. Well, what else kind of, what other highlights did you have from your service?
Probably being a drill instructor.
Oh, really?
That's I call it the highest the highest and lowest point in my career. I was at my 15, 16 year mark, and I decided to go to the drill field and be a drill instructor. And I was like 10 years older than the oldest drill instructor running around. Like I was as old as the people running like the company, like company level staff, like the first sergeant majors. Like we had the same time. Like I got in trouble in Okinawa as a sergeant, and it delayed me getting. I didn't get busted down, but it delayed me getting promoted for a while. So I had to do something big. I had to do something, and I had to do it right, and I couldn't fail at it. And drill instructor, there's an argument, or say, a friendly argument in the Marine Corps of like which special duty is better. Because once you get to a certain point in the Marine Corps, you have to do a special duty assignment, a B-billet, to prolong your career. They call it giving back to the Marine Corps. Either you're going to be a recruiter, drill instructor, you'll do combat training instructor, there's embassy duty, and then security forces. So you got to do one of those to kind of enhance your career. If you fail at it, though, there's no remorse. Like it's kind of like the end of your career. Mm-hmm. So I had to go down there, and I had to do good. I had to have a successful tour on the drill field. So I took what leaders said to heart. Teach the guys, push them hard, and I feel like that's what I did. But there's no learning curve. Like you step foot, like you go through DI school, and then you set foot in the training company, and that's it. Like you're a drill instructor, and you're expected to know like what's going on, and if you don't know it, you're expected to learn it like yesterday, like fast.
Oh, it sounds just like the construction industry.
Pretty much. So I went from being like I was a staff sergeant, so I was E6. It's not high up, but it's a little it's decent. And I was treated like a brand new guy, like a PFC. And I struggled my first cycle trying to pick up the lingo and the knowledge, and plus you're running all day. I had a little. I counted my steps. There's a little step counter. In the 3 months, God, it was something crazy. I want to say you travel something like 72 miles in 3 months. You do 30. I was doing 35,000 steps, almost a day.
Wow.
As a drill instructor, you do the most in the beginning and the most at the end. So in the beginning, it's called forming days. So you got to use new recruits, and you got to get them in line, and you got to teach them. You got to teach them fast. So it's chaos, and all these. You got the senior and the J kind of guiding and giving direction, and then everybody else is just running around herding cats, like trying to control the masses. So you're doing 36,000 steps, which is I don't know how many. That's like seven miles, 5-7 miles, like in a circle inside a room. The end of the cycle, you're out doing the crucible, which is it's a 52-hour, just like a 3-day test for the new Marines, and they're just hiking everywhere. So you get the same amount of steps hiking miles in the hills of Camp Pendleton as you do running in the circles in the training company. But it's fun. It's kind of cool. Like my job was to cause chaos and IT the guys. So I see an infraction and they get IT. That's called incentive training. So they're going to go do push-ups and jumping jacks and mountain climbers, fun stuff for a few minutes, and then give them back. And it sounds like fun. If you make it a game, it is fun. But it's when you're screaming at someone for 3 minutes straight to do a push-up, it's exhausting. So you're working 20-hour days. Yep.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, so a friend of mine that went to the Marines, he said that you'd see like drill instructors that were in training and stuff. And he said that they would go outside and they would start screaming at squirrels to train their voice up to be able to scream all day long. Did you have to do that?
So they didn't make us do that. Like I definitely heard from Paris Island, they go out and scream at trees. What they did do though is, so we have to do these things called teachbacks, and it's we're teaching. There's the drill manual, and it step by step broken down how you complete every single drill movement. And each week you were given certain drill movements to teach back to the instructor. You had to learn it and teach it, and you had to know the teach back verbatim. So you had to memorize this drill movement and teach it back to the instructor. The only problem is your instructor would stand on the other side of the parade deck, and you would have to scream it to him. And if he couldn't hear you clearly, you didn't pass.
Wow.
And you had to stand there in one spot, position of attention, and scream as hard as you can this teach back. And if he heard you, you passed. If he didn't hear you, there was no hope for you. You didn't pass. You had to come back and you're screaming and screaming and screaming. And it didn't matter what was going on. If you see where San Diego is as far as where the recruit depot is, we're right up against the runway. So in the middle of your teach back, a jet takes off and he's like, I can't hear you. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. And you're like, fuck. But you definitely lose your voice a lot.
Yeah.
I bet you drill instructors would make good heavy metal singers.
Yeah. Holy steers and queers come from Texas. That's a whole song, right?
R. Lee Ermey.
Hey, it's funny, but I mean, you guys know who Shaggy is, right?
Like the rapper or Scooby Doo?
Yeah, the rapper.
She got me on the counter. Wasn't me.
Yeah.
So he was a Marine. He was in Desert Storm, and the voice that he uses in his songs to sing with is actually a voice he developed calling writing cadence in the Marine Corps.
Oh, no shit. That's a cool little tidbit.
Yeah. So his little.
And the funny thing is that that album the song you were just singing, I don't know,
it wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't me. He recorded the album and it didn't catch on. Like that song, because it was on the album, it was not played on any radio in the US. Like it was stifled. There was a DJ in Hawaii who worked for AFN, which is the Armed Forces Network. Who was, remember that when that was a time of like Livewire and like ripping songs off the internet and Napster and stuff.
Yeah,
he went online and found it and ripped it, like illegally downloaded it and started playing it on AFN in Hawaii. So all of AFN started picking it up, and then it kind of transferred. Like we loved it. This is just, it's awesome. Like, it's cool. Like, yeah, Shaggy, yeah, whatever. And we're like, it got big. And then from there, it went to the States and blew up. So one
so
little
funny.
DJ, one little DJ ripping shit offline, like, saved Shaggy's career.
Damn. So Shaggy's like, hell yeah, LimeWire. I'm all about it, buddy.
Yeah.
All the other artists are like, fuck LimeWire. We're protesting. Shaggy's like, hey, this ain't too bad.
The DJ's like, it wasn't me.
Yeah. The DJ's like, oh, it wasn't me. That's hilarious, dude. I never knew that story about that song. I don't know that he would have been understood, though, if he was sitting there trying to yell cadences. I mean, I've heard him rap, and that song, you can't understand a single word in the little rap verses.
Yeah, there's the thing about Marine Corps cadence is rarely is any of it new. And while you're running, if you just yell back like what you think they said, it it comes together.
That's cool, man. That's an interesting story. So let's start, kind of talking about what did you do when you got out of the Marine Corps?
So there was after the drill field, I got stationed at Miramar, which is out here in California. I was a gunny. I was trying to be competitive for the next rank as Mass Sergeant, and they had me doing every other little job other than what my job was. Because once you go to the drill field and you hit the fleet, and you go back to the normal day jobs, they look at you as someone who can handle more than what your normal job is. So they may need a company first sergeant, or they may need other type billets done, and they're like, "Oh, let's give it to this guy." So I hit it in 2015. 2015 is when I picked up gunny, and then for the next 5 years, I think I did my job as a firefighter for like 10 months because I was doing everything else. During that time of transition, I got pushed into safety. There was one job that I did when I first hit. It was called victim advocate. I took that job super seriously. At the time, the unit I was with had the highest amount of sexual assault cases on the West Coast, and it was a big deal. So I stepped in, and the program was in shambles. A lot of the victim advocates were either deployed or gone, and they had none, which is in violation. You have to have at least two. So when I stepped in and said, "Hey, I've got this certificate, this credential. I'll be your guy." I ran the program, and I'm not going to say I single-handedly stopped the amount of sexual assaults, but after I took over, they definitely went down, and the program got fixed, and the survivors they started getting help and assistance, and the program was running pretty good. So the CO that I did that for, like, his change of command was a Friday morning at like 10 a.m. At 6 o'clock Thursday evening, like, his last act in office was like, he's going to be the safety guy for the next CO, and he threw my name out there. I didn't find out for another 3 weeks, which was kind of weird because everybody's like, "Oh, everybody else knew but me," and it was kind of weird. But I fought it hard. Like, I was like, I don't want to fucking do it. Like, no, I'm not going to safety. Like, it's a career ender. I'm fucking safe. Like, I'm trying to do my job. And I got told, tough shit, do it. So I was like, all right, whatever, I'll do it. So I fought it. I did the job for the first year. The second year I went into it I was pretty belligerent. And I was like, I got to get back to my job or I'm never going to get promoted. And then after the second year, we had a change of command. A new CEO came in. So I was the safety guy for 3 different commanding officers, which is usually you're just for a year, and then you switch. You're supposed to share all the work. But so I'm starting the 3rd year, and I was talking to one of my captains who safety is a big, especially in our unit, we're a construction unit. It's huge. We had construction, we had general industry, so we had a lot of safety and it's a huge program along with environmental. Environmental program is just as big as the safety, especially out here in California. You imagine. The EPA can actually, the state EPA and the county, they can come on base and they can actually fine the Marine Corps for certain things. So,
oh wow! See, that was something I was actually about to ask you. Was as if you were at all immune to some of that in the military.
No, not at all. And I think it's almost easier. Like it's easy money for the EPA to come in and find the Marine Corps on anything, like or any of the services. Like it's. I'm not gonna say it's like a money grab, but if they're hurting for money and they need some funds, like they could easily go on to any base and find a couple $100,000 worth of fines, like right off the bat. Like it's not hard. When I took over the program, I had there was a Navy officer, and he kind of came down, and Navy kind of they oversee a lot of the programs in the Marine Corps. So the Navy guy is walking around a lot, and he comes into my office. He's like, "You the environmental guy?" I was like, "Yes." I was like, "Well, you have about, I don't know, $400,000 worth of fines on your lot right now." I'm like, "That's cool. This is my first day." That's a nice punch in the face. Like, welcome to the job. You suck.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was, and then we had an inspection coming up in a few weeks, and he was like, "I don't know how you're going to fix this, but it's got to be fixed." I was like, "Cool, thanks for the help. I'll get right on that."
I'm not going to tell you how, but it better get fixed. Boy, talk
That's
about
pretty much how they did.
So an entity of the federal government coming into another entity of the federal government to take money from that entity of the federal government. If that ain't your tax dollars working, folks, I don't know what is.
Yeah. I mean, they could come in and they could see a bunch of like drums labeled for hazardous waste. If they can go and unscrew the little cap on the top with their fingers, then that is not vapor tight, and that's a $10,000 fine.
Jeez.
That has to be paid for out of the unit's money. Money that's allotted for gear, equipment, maintenance on the vehicles, whatever the service members need. That unit's budget, it comes out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hard part is a lot of people don't realize that, how the government's pots of money work. And I see it a lot on state and federal level just in the construction industry is you'll see robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of thing, or even in the old, like in the Corps of Engineers, for example, dude, there was one unit coming over and then they were like charging this other unit for this and that. And it's like, they're all the same deal, but they're charging this guy for this. And, they're all different pots of money and stuff like that. Although it all comes from taxpayers and stuff like that. It's all just totally different pots.
Yes. And it even gets even crazier because you get in the Marine Corps, then you have blue dollars and green dollars, and there's some projects that are funded completely by the Navy, some completely by the Marine Corps, and we get our budget from the Navy. So the Marine Corps actually has like the smallest budget. If you think about this, for every dollar the Navy gets, we get a penny.
Huh. Wow.
So during times of during war times, the budget definitely gets bigger because we got to buy better stuff, but we usually don't learn our lessons or what we need. We don't really find out what we need until we're in combat. Like we deployed to Iraq with Vietnam level gear, like Vietnam era flak jackets. The only thing that they didn't have in Vietnam was the Humvees, and they found out real quick that Humvees ain't it when it comes to being in the desert for IEDs and stuff like that. Like even up armored, they put thousands and thousands of pounds of armor plating on these Humvees, and it just wasn't it. That's when you see the V-Haul vehicles and the MRAPs come out, and those are tight. But yeah, we learn our lessons kind of hard. We don't really now. I say we're probably more forward thinking now than we were at the start of OIF and Afghanistan.
Yeah, now they're going to have cyber trucks rolling out in the desert.
Charging stations.
Yeah. Charging stations.
Yeah.
Saudi charging stations.
Hey, you laugh, but there's some high level officer trying to make it happen. Like we could do this.
Cool, man. So you got into safety and compliance before you left the Marines. So that's kind of where you started getting into that, actually, while you were still in the Marines.
Yeah, there was a tipping point where I kept being told I was going to be replaced as a safety officer for my unit. Like, we're going to replace you. We got a plan. Just sit tight for a couple of weeks, and a couple of weeks would go by and there'd be nothing. So one day I was like, tight. I packed up my desk. I went into the admin. I said, hey, change me on manpower. I'm going back to firefighting. So just switch me. I'm not up here anymore. And I left. And I was down there for 3 days before the sergeant major knew that I had went back to my original job. And, I walk in and the dudes look at me and like, oh, hey, he could be our new first sergeant. And I went off. I threw my shit. I was flipping people off. I was like, F you. I've been doing all this extra shit the whole time I'm here. Like, y'all do extra shit. Like, I don't care. I'm doing my job. And they kind of like, whoa, this guy's flipping the fuck out. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like I'm doing, like, this is my job. I'm here to do my job, not do everything else. Mm-hmm. So after 3 days of being down there and fighting everybody, the sergeant major called me back up. He's like, I didn't know you left. There is a plan to replace you, but we need you to sit tight for a little bit. Just kind of sit tight. And I was like, sergeant major, I am never going to get promoted the longer I sit up here. He was like, oh, well, you don't know that, blah, blah. And I was like, I do know that. Like, I don't have any experience in MOS at my current rank. I'm not going to get promoted. And he was like, well, just sit tight and we'll make it happen. And after that conversation, I realized I wasn't going to get moved out of safety. I was going to retire out of that billet. And that's when I started taking things, I guess, more seriously towards getting out of the Marine Corps and having a job. Mm-hmm. Like, if I would have solely fought on keeping my current job as a firefighter in the Marine Corps, I would not have been in position to be safety on when I got out. So I started going to classes. I got in contact with a veterans group that does free training for veterans when it comes to safety. I got some Lean Six Sigma training. I got a lot of OSHA training, OSHA 10, OSHA 30. And just going and being around that environment, I was ready. So I officially retired September 30th of 2020. I was hired as an inspector with my current company October 15th. That was my first day.
Oh, I was going to say, so you joined the company you're with now as soon as you got out of the service?
Yes. Yeah, I spent about 3 months at the end of my Marine Corps career just putting in for jobs and going to job interviews, and that one hit. Like October 7th is when I interviewed, and then he was like, well, what are you doing on Thursday? And I looked and I had like 3-4 job interviews lined up. I was like, oh, I'm kind of packed. And he goes, oh, we can change it. I was like, no, I can clear it. He goes, well, what do you got? They're all job interviews. He goes, yeah, you're hired. Go ahead and clear those. So I stepped into that billet, and it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing in disguise, this company.
And what year was that?
So that was 2020.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, that was 2020.
What a time to step into a safety and compliance role in the construction industry in 2020, right as shit's hitting the fan.
Yeah, dude, it was, our company doubled in size during COVID.
Really?
Yeah, like it was, we weren't, I'm not going to say we were essential, but when they pushed everybody home, they quickly found out that the current networks was not built to have everybody in California at home at one time. Mm. Because everybody was online, everybody was on the cable, everybody was on the internet, and it could not hold. So there was projects in line like 5-6 years down the road that they pushed to start during COVID to beef up the networks and become a stronger network because it couldn't support it. So we actually doubled in size. COVID was a blessing for the company I work for right now.
Wow. So what all type of work do you guys do? I'm assuming infrastructure, utility, all that kind of good stuff, but tell me the whole broad scope.
Yeah, so we are communications construction. We do everything from the underground, digging ditches and putting the conduit and the pipes in, the handholds on the sidewalk, the vaults. So we got underground side that does a lot of underground utilities for communication, and then we have the aerial side that places poles that they'll hang the communication lines on the poles. Like we got linemen that climb. I know there's going to be people in the comments. So communication linemen, real linemen, come from the power guys. But we have our own training center. We train everything we do is in house, which is really cool. So we train all the linemen. You go to a climbing school, and we tell them, like, you don't become a lineman in the school, you become a climber in school, you become a lineman on the job. But they climb the poles, they hang the utility lines on the poles. We have tower climbers, so we have guys that do the big towers, the communication towers. We have guys that do nodes. So we're kind of any aspect of communication, of putting it from A to B and setting it up like we do. Our biggest project was so the Super Bowl last year in SoFi Stadium. Our company we did fiber optic to the stadium. So the Super Bowl was broadcasted on fiber optic lines that we installed, and that's kind of cool. Like, everybody watched the Super Bowl. It was going to happen without us, but I mean, there are communication lines that we pushed in.
Yeah,
So
you were part
we're
of it.
a subcontractor for a lot of the big names in the communication industry. So
How many people work there?
we just hit our let's see here, we're sitting at a 26 a year, and I think we're sitting about 700 people.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you guys are big, and you've doubled that in 2020. So there was like 300 people, and you grew to 700 people in the last few years.
Yeah. So when I don't remember, because I didn't really pay attention to it when I joined, when I came on board, but I was kind of the tail end of the beefing up, because they beefed up in size. And the guy that trained me, he told me, like, yeah, we've doubled. So they went from 300 to 600, and then they realized their current the safety infrastructure for the company wasn't big enough just to handle everything. So they started getting local safety guys in all the areas, and that's helped out the company a lot. Like,
I see. Hey, I had a boss that we called Fat Bastard. Did you? Yeah, he always made a joke. He used to, it was whenever I was landscaping. Well, he used to work for a big landscaping company, and he goes, yeah, he said all the guys would call the owner skinny bastard. And he goes, no one ever called it to me to my face, but he said if he was skinny bastard, not just bastard, he goes, he was like the head of operations. He goes, I already knew what that meant I was, and that was Fat Bastard. Yeah. So we always called him Fat Bastard. I still call him Fat Bastard if I see him, but he's lost a lot of weight. Oh, well, anyways, back to you, Ben. No, man, that's awesome. So, how is the safety and compliance different between the construction industry and the Marine Corps?
I'll say it's not that much different. If you talk to a lot of safety guys, you'll find a lot of them have military experience. Safety is ingrained. It's like kind of beat into you on a very low level basis from the time you get in. So it gets so ingrained that a lot of military guys don't even realize that they have an opportunity in the safety field after they get out. So it's an easy transition. I kind of feel some days I'm still in the Marine Corps, as you know, as a gunny, you're kind of walking around and you're making corrections. Hey, put your safety glasses on. Hey, what are you doing over there? Like, fix this. as a safety guy, you're kind of doing the same thing. Hey, where's your safety glasses? Where's your hard hat? Where's your vest? Like, fix your TC. So it's some days I feel like I never left. I think the difference is in the Marine Corps, like they have to listen to you, like like when I walk into a room in the Marine Corps and there's like something going on wrong, and I said, hey, you probably shouldn't do that. Like, you should probably stop doing that. Like, that's not me telling them like they have a choice. Like, they're going to stop doing whatever they're doing. Here, I'm not saying in the civilian sector they have a broader range of a broader area of whether they listen to you or not listen to you, and the ramifications. I think that's probably the biggest difference. Like, I step on a job site and I say, hey, put your safety glasses on. They're like, okay. And they could put them on, and then as soon as I walk away, take them off and say, fuck that guy. It's easier. I think it's easier in the Marine Corps to push it. That's probably the only thing, because they have to, like, because of the rank structure, like, they're either going to listen to me or they're going to get in trouble, and they're going to have like a lot broader. It's a lot easier for me to punish somebody in the Marine Corps for not following policy or standards than it is in the civilian sector.
Yeah, if you're on a construction site, you can't just be like, all right, you fat fuck, go run 20 laps, make it 30, dirty 30 right now.
That might be good for some workers, though.
Well, it would be, but Well, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's really pretty similar is what you're saying, other than the employees. I mean, I'm sure that in the Marine Corps you get a little bit more respect because those guys know that they're required to give you respect. I guess in the construction side, they could give you one of these, fuck you, but it's something that I actually wanted to touch on. Man, time's flying by. Something I wanted to touch on that you called in whenever we did a call-in episode a while back, and you were talking about, this is where I think that this is what separates a good safety guy versus a not, or any leader of a company for that matter. You called in, you were telling me a story about a guy that you had issue with, or he had issues in his own life, mental health wise and stuff like that. And you were telling me how you handled that situation. And it wasn't just, hey dude, what the fuck? Why are you slacking? It had a little bit more finesse to it. And I want to hear about that, man, because I think that that's cool. And I think that there's a lot of people that are leaders in this industry that could take notes from that and truly show safety's great, right? I mean, we need safety. Put your glasses on, put your hard hat on. But if a dude's really struggling, that's whenever it's, do I actually care about this worker and their safety and their well-being, or do I just care about making sure they're checking the boxes? And man, I just want to hear about that.
Yeah. So, the guy is a damn good guy, great guy. Just wanted to come to work and kind of provide for his family, but everything outside of the job was falling apart, and he was stressed, he was struggling, and he had a breakdown on the job site. There was something going on with some of the business owner, or there was conflict on the crew, and it was just a bad day, and he kind of lost it. And the area manager at the time didn't know how to handle it. So they sent one of his guys to go pick him up, and luckily that guy called me. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to pick this guy up. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to take him. Like, do I take him to the hospital? Like, I said, take him back. I was like, I take him back to the yard. I'll meet you there, and I'll take it from there." And he was like, "Well, what do I?" I was like, just let him calm down. Just get him back to the yard, and I'll meet you there. So I went to the yard, and the first thing I did was I got him out of there. I was like, let's go for a ride. I was like, "Did you have lunch yet?" He was like, "No." Like, he hadn't eaten in like a day and a half. I was like, "Let's go grab some lunch." So we went and grabbed lunch, and I was like, "Whatever you want, dude. Like, just go ahead. I got it." So picked up lunch and we started talking, and I just let him talk and let him voice his opinion. And I was like, "What's going on, man?" And he started talking, and I was like, "Look, bro, like I can tell that there's something else. Like there's something going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that you have to talk to me because you really don't know me." I was like, "But I was like, if you want to talk, I was like, I can either help you, or I can get you to someone who can help you." And he just let everything out, and just started talking. And there's a lot of blue collar guys, man. They come to work and they get so lost in their work. That's like they consider it therapy, you know. Like just let me work through this. I just got to dig this ditch or whatever they're doing. Like I just got to bust my ass through this and sweat and I'll feel better later. And there is some truth to that, but if you're not talking to people about your problems, about what's going on in your head, you're going to have some issues, and it's gonna come out in ways that you're not expecting. So I just kind of pulled him aside, and after we got done talking, I took him home. I was like, "Hey, look, just take the rest of the day off." And I do not have in my at the time in the current company, I don't have the authority to be like, "Take the day off, you're good." Come back in like that. I didn't. I winged it. I was like, "Just go home for the rest of the day. Take it easy. Come in tomorrow, and we'll figure tomorrow out."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Cool." So he was in a lot better place. A lot better place after that. After that, the word kind of spread. That I'm the guy to talk to. I went back and talked to the area manager. I was like, he's okay. I was like, he's not gonna. I was like, he may have issues in the future. I was like, but he needs to talk to somebody. He needs some professional help. I was like, is he going to be a good worker? I was like, yes, he's still fine to work here. I was like, but again, the rest of the day off. And he was like, okay, cool. I'm glad you did that. Like, I didn't know, like, kind of what to do with him. Since then, the company now has a a professional to talk to. It's an actual doctor these guys can call and set up time to talk to if they need to talk to somebody, which is really cool. I'm glad they added that.
That's
And
crazy.
that was like at perfect timing. So when I was dealing with that a few months later, that's when I found you guys on Instagram and you started posting the mental health talks. And I was like, shit, I'm doing this now. I ripped that offline and just kind of circled the. We do a safety meeting every Monday morning, and that morning I brought them in, had them all circle and face each other, and I just stood in the middle and I had your sheet printed off, and I just went just line by line, just talking, and I tried to. That was my son just kind of popped on the corner there. Tried to tie in what I learned in the military as an advocate for suicide awareness to what these guys do. And the more I looked, like the only thing separating blue collar guys and a lot of military guys are the decisions they made at 17, 18, and 19 years old.
Yeah.
Like if I know how I was at 17 and 18, and I was pretty damn crazy. And the recruiter knew that if I didn't go to boot camp right out of high school, I was probably going to get in trouble. And I'm not going to lie. I did some things over that summer that nothing crazy, but it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
And if it would have been real crazy, I wouldn't have been able to join the Marine Corps. I would have had a different path. And that's a lot of the guys I talked to. Hey, I was at the recruiting station. I was here, I was going to join, but then I did this and this and got caught up and went to jail. And I got, got some charges and did this. And their lives panned out differently. The only thing separating us is what I see is the decisions made at that young age. And if they would have made a different decision, then they would have joined the military too. Like
Yeah.
There's a very fine line that separates us. And I think connecting those dots helps. It gives me a better vantage point at these guys because there's a stigma. Oh, they're blue collar. They're low level society. They're not going to be anything. They're not going to do anything. And I see it in the guy's eyes too. It kind of gets pushed to them. I kind of look at them the same way I look at, a veteran that needs help, and just you treat someone with some respect, some dignity, and actually try to help them. And you don't have to get in their feelings. You don't have to. This is going to sound weird, but you don't have to care to actually to help. Like, it's kind of weird to say. It just step in and be that guy. Be the guy that you would want for you, and just do the right thing for a person, like person to person. Like, you don't have to agree with that person. You don't have to be the same religion, the same race, the same color, the same creed. You don't have to, whatever separates the language barrier. We have a lot of Spanish speaking guys. You don't have to be on the same level as these guys. But you do have to recognize them as a person, and they have struggles, they have problems, they have issues, just like you do. And you can't come from a place of judgment. You got to come from a place of love, and just understand that they have a problem, and if they don't get that problem dealt with, then you're going to have a productivity problem on the job site.
Yeah.
So it's easier to kind of to step aside. And then I was glad I was there. I'm glad they called me. That guy didn't have any more mental issues when he was with us. He did have some injuries and some pretty serious health issues that kind of pushed him out of the job. Not like, you can't work here anymore. Like, he just kind of figured out, like, my body can't take this anymore. But he had some pretty significant health issues that he had took a leave of absence and then found a different career. And he's doing really good helping people like him.
Yeah.
So that is key. When I see someone that I helped, helping people that were in a similar situation to him, like he's that guy now that pulls people aside and goes buy him a lunch and lets them talk for, a couple minutes. Let them let out some tears without judgment, and it goes a long way. It goes a long way.
Dude, that's so important. I mean, we were talking about this. Casey and I recorded an episode right before this that'll probably come out after this. But the amount of people that get stuck on their phones and those online communities and stuff like that, it's so easy to never talk to anybody at all. I mean, about anything. And, maybe you don't know how to talk to your spouse or somebody like that, or maybe there's just a lot of conflict and you have nobody outside of that you really trust and can talk to. I mean, that's so cool that you were taking that individual and you're saying, hey man, you're not just a freaking workhorse for this company. You are a human being, and we care a lot about you, and we want the best for you. And showing them that, not just telling them that on the Monday morning safety meeting, that we're a corporate family and we love you. And then, as soon as they have an issue, it's like, well, I'm going to have to write you up for that one, buddy. But no, you did it the right way. And you said, all right, yeah, let's go drive around. Let's talk. Let's hear about it. Give him a minute. And then now he's actually feels like he's cared about. And he is an individual that you see and you notice, and not just a number on the payroll.
Yeah, I learned. I've got 3 sons, and I try to be the best for them, but I found it's really hard to sit down across the table, eye to eye, and be like, "What's wrong with you, bud? Like, tell me about your feelings." Mm-hmm. But if you take a drive and you have something else to focus on, you let them look out the window. You're focused on the road. It's easier to talk when you're not staring someone in the eyeball. So I kind of took that into this situation, and it helped. I relied on what I knew. I didn't want to know this guy's personal life. I just wanted this guy to talk and kind of let some things out, and it worked out.
Yeah.
There's something about being in a vehicle. Yeah. Just something about being in a vehicle, whether if you're by yourself or with somebody like his situation, where you just kind of let your guard down. You don't feel like you're in a confined space. You know what I mean? There's something about that. Hey, when you were talking earlier, man, aside from home, our work group is like family. I mean, we spend almost more time with our work group than we do family at home, because, you might wake up in the morning and say bye to your wife and come home, and it's just a few hours. But that work group family, talked about this before, you know what the baseline is for the way someone acts, right? You know that this is their norm, this is their good. If you see that get off kilter to where it starts dropping below whatever their baseline norm is, that's where you do need to like step up and do like he did and just throw that out there. Hey man, is everything all right? Well, everything. Hey, I just want to let you know, man, if there's anything going on and you need someone to talk to, dude, I'm here for you, man. And just throw that out there, because you'd be surprised the people that will take you up on that if you just at least offer it up.
Yeah. No, I think that most people need that. And a lot of times, man, it's not even that they need somebody to sit down and say, hey, let's talk about our feeling. What's going on in your life? It's just like you start talking and they'll slowly start telling you the story, because that's the first opportunity they have ever had to talk to someone.
They just need someone to talk to.
Yeah, that's it.
I do. I need someone to talk to at times. I talk with you at times, we
all do.
Before we record. And it helps kind of get me back on track. I just get it off my chest.
Yeah. Well, hey, Ben, I wanted to ask you something else before in our last couple minutes here. You and I had also talked before. We were talking about standards and stuff like that. And I think that we had put a post out that said something along the lines of, we need to stop lowering our standards. I talk to employers all the time, and I literally had a guy tell me, we have to lower our standards. We have to lower our standards in order to get anybody here, da-da-da-da-da. And you've started to see it with the military. You've started to see it with companies and things like that. But I actually believe that we need to raise our standards, keep our standards where they've always been. Standard of work needs to be high. Standard of integrity needs to be high. Standard of honesty needs to be high. And I know that in the one thing that you said is you said the Marine Corps is the only branch of the military that has not lowered their standards yet. And I think that ties in so well to the state of the construction industry right now. What are your thoughts on all that, man?
I'll start off by saying two things, and one's going to be highly controversial. But first, when you lower your standards, you're not all of a sudden going to get people to be like, yes, I'm up here now. No, if your bar is here, they're going to be here. So if you lower to here, they're going to go to here. The lower you lower your standards, that's the quality you're going to get is lower standards. And two, lowering standards is a cop-out for leadership to not do their jobs. Wherever you set the bar at, that's the standard you're going to get. So if you set it high, you're going to get high standard, like from your guys. And not all of them, but I've definitely learned in the Marine Corps, so we have the obstacle course that every recruit has to run. They have to get through it, and they do it quite often. We don't have a stair or a step for the shorter recruits. We don't have, they're not helping each other like the weak ones. No one helps them get over. But with the right motivation, and it's funny because they run it and they run it and they run it and they're stuck at the same obstacle, and they're like, I can't do it, and you're screaming at them like, I don't care if you can't do it, you're gonna do it. Like, I'm pretty sure you've seen Full Metal Jacket when he's telling you, miracle your ass up there, and you push them hard enough, they're gonna find a way to do it.
Yeah.
If you set your standards high, you're going to get people that are going to come here. You may have some that come here, but with the right encouragement, they'll be here. The higher you set your standards, the higher quality work you're going to get.
Yeah.
And it's also a double-edged sword, because you one thing I say, I'm going to set my standard here. I'm going to tell you, this is what I expect. This is what I need you to do. And then the follow-up for that conversation at the end is, what do you need to get here? What can I provide you to get here?
Yeah.
And I think that's what's missing. I think a lot of people, I need 30,000 feet of asphalt laid today. Go do it. And then you kind of punch them in well, you didn't get it, so you suck. No. If you want high standards, you also got to provide a method, a way of doing it. You can't hold their hand through it. You can't coddle them, but you have to expect people to perform high. And if you don't, you're going to get low performance.
Yeah, I think that's where the disconnect is a lot of people expect high standards, especially your old school guys that are used to a high standard of discipline, a high standard of being here on time, a high standard of work and quality. But they don't know how to relay that. They just say it better be a high standard. You're not doing good at this. You're not doing good at that. But they never say, how can I help you meet the standard? You're not meeting it. You new foreman, you're not meeting the standard of production that we need in this company. But there's no one sitting there saying, how do we get you there? They're just saying you're not meeting it. And it's kind of like, I compare it a lot to like your wife is mad at you and you have to figure out why she's mad. She's not telling you. Like, your boss is kind of like, you're not meeting it. And it's like, well, what do I need to do better to meet the standard? I really don't know. And they're like, you just need to do better. You're like, what do I need to do better at? I don't know how to do it. And sometimes it's just figuring it out on your own. Like you're saying, just get over the wall however you need to. But sometimes, you need hey, have you considered this? Have you considered that? Or, here's where you're really slacking, man. How do we improve those areas? And guys aren't doing that.
Yeah.
So the standard's slipping.
We had a crew down here a couple years ago. They were a fiber laying crew. So their job was to push fiber through conduits in the ground that were already, first crew came through and put the conduits in. Second crew comes behind them, throws the fiber cable through the conduits. They were a top-notch, high-performance crew. They were doing 7,000 to 10,000 feet a day. Like they were rolling. And if they got a blockage, they didn't care. They figured it out and they moved on. Like they got their footage. The problem with that crew is they would give them a new guy. And in 2 days, the guy would quit. They'd be like, nope, you can't hack it. We don't want him on our crew. So one of the guys took offense and I said, look, I was like, you guys are good. You consider yourselves masters of your craft? Like, yeah, we're the best. I said, you're not a master of your craft until you can teach it to someone and they can do what you do. Yeah. And he kind of looked at me and was like, are you calling me out? I was like, I kind of am. Like, if you can't teach someone to do what you do, then you are not a true master of your craft. Okay, because one day you're not going to work here anymore. And the expectation of this crew is going to still do 7,000 to 10,000 feet a day. And if you don't teach someone how to do that, then all of your legacy, all your hard work stays underground with this cable. Like it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that kind of clicked a light bulb on them because they just kicked a guy off their crew that day, and I kind of went back to the job site. I was like, guys, like I'm not saying coddle them. I was like, but all of you had a first day. All of you had a first day with a hard ass, and it was hell, and you didn't like it. He goes, yeah. I was like, but what'd you do? What did they do? Like, did they just throw you back? Did they just kick you off the job site and send you home? Like, what'd they do? Like, oh no, they kind of pushed me. Like, they were hard, but they taught me this, and like, then be that guy.
Yeah.
Like, teach them, become a master of your craft, and teach these guys how to do it like you do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that kind of goes back to your military training you were talking about earlier, to where you put in your time, then now you were giving back in the military, the same as teaching the guys to learn their craft. Same type of deal. You've learned the craft well, now you need to pass it on to the next generation, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think makes the difference between, you have these guys that, there's a couple guys I can think of off the top of my head that they think that they're God's gift to operating. They're, oh yeah, I'm so good. Well, they do not pass it down. They have not passed it down. They keep it close to the hip. It's a secret. It's, I'm the best at this shit. Da 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 da. No one's ever going to be as good as me. Well, they don't want to teach anybody. They don't like to teach. They don't want to even think about teaching. And it's like, well, guess what, dude? All this badass stuff, is all for naught at the end of the day if you do not start passing that standard along. And if you just belittle people for not being as good as you, then that's not helping the industry at all. I mean, it is not helping at all because you aren't passing it on to where it's sustainable for the future.
And on the flip side too is you need to have somebody that wants to learn, right? That wants to learn how to do the job. That's curious. Yes, I do want to learn. They have to have hopefully that mentality.
Yeah, you hope for that. Well, hey guys, that's all the time we got today. Ben, you got any final thoughts on all this, man?
No, I just thanks for having me on. This was I like following you guys. I like listening to what you guys talk about. So this was great. Like I appreciate the appreciate what you do for the blue collar community, and just keep it up. Just keep it up.
Yeah, brother. We appreciate you coming on and talking to us about all this good stuff.
We need to bend
fun.
part 2 or 3.
Yeah, we do definitely, man. I love. It's great to talk to safety guys that actually give a shit. You know what I mean about the people. I've got a whole safety topic I want to go on. I was hoping we'd get to it today, but we need more time.
Well, the older I've gotten, the more I've realized how important safety is. I know you kind of joke and, oh, the safety guy, dude. I've never worn more PPE and stuff until the older I've gotten, like with either ear protection, glasses, gloves, all that shit. When I was young, I was dumb, but the older I got, I realized how important that is.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we'll definitely do it again. But in the meantime, guys, I hope you get out there. I hope you work hard, and I hope you do something hard today.
Well, by God.